Before I tell you about how a woman entered a marriage knowing she was already a wife, let me tell you about the poor man she married. Keith Lee, busted, broke, disgusted, so much so that he tried to take his own life. He's a runaway, failed at wrestling, failed in school 6 times, failed at college, and even DoorDash, and he couldn't pay rent. He met a woman named Ronni while living out of his car. So here's the question. When he proposed, let's say it was you, would you have said yes? I already know the answer, and that's the problem. Let's talk about why you would have missed out on a $4 million payday. Would you have married this homeless man? Would you have married this man? He has no job. He's living in his car. He meets you while living in his car and hustling. He's doing the best he can to make the most with what his situation is. And he meets you and he says, eventually, I want to marry you and have children, and you don't have anything. What would your answer have been? Clearly, we know what her answer was. Okay, but would that have been your response? I think it's such a valid testimony for us women, because a lot of times I'm seeing videos, statements, clips. All I'm hearing around me is, I want a high value man. I want a man who's making 6 figures. I want a man who's XYZ. You know, you have all of your lists and things like that. He absolutely did not have any money. He did not have his own apartment. He was living out of his car, and yet he approached this young lady and he saw such value in her that he wanted to marry her. To me, that says he found a field, he found a land, and he saw that there was treasure there. And he went and sold everything he had so that he can come and buy that field. That field is Ronni. He saw value in her. He saw that she was worth committing himself to. And then when he asked her to marry him and to have babies, she was willing to take that leap with him. She had full faith in him, and she showed him her faith by her actions, by committing to him, by believing in him. And she married him. These are biblical principles that we can see manifesting themselves in this couple's life. First, this man saw a wife. He found a good thing. And then when he saw that she was a good thing, he saw that she was someone worth investing in, someone who believed in him, someone whom he can see himself making a future with. He went full speed ahead. He walked with intention and purpose. He pursued her with that, and she reciprocated. One of the things I want to also point out, we must walk in a thing before we are declared that thing. We must walk as a woman, a wife. We must present that way. We must carry ourselves that way. We are already a wife. By the time the man comes to us and he asks us to marry him, he is only professing what we were already walking. He is only declaring to the world what we already presented ourselves as. He is only acknowledging what we were already walking as. We were wives to begin with. He just acknowledged it. She was already a wife, and he took her as his wife. And that's another video clip I saw. A woman carries herself as such. And there were a few other choice words that he had. I'll share that video with you because I think he says a lot better than I ever, and I found it very eye-opening. Excuse the language.
I'm saying women do this, ladies do this, do this, do this. You keep saying all women, and I'm saying no, Sean, not all women, nigga.
Okay. Women do this. Okay. How we conduct ourselves, how we carry ourselves screams. Our conversation, our presentation tells everyone who we are before we ever open our mouth. How we present ourselves says, I am a woman, I'm a wife, I'm single, I am this, I am that. We rarely have to even say anything to get a point across to people. They can see it in us. What I'm trying to get at is Keith saw in Ronni that she was a wife, that she was someone that he can build with. So that's one point. The next point is oftentimes, the future of a man is locked up in the woman he chooses. Now, Keith, he had tried many different things, wrestling, all the different things that he tried and attempted to do with himself for his life. But when he was able to secure his wife in his life, things started to flourish for him. I'm only speaking from deducting the testimony that was shared. Okay. It appears that Ronni's belief in him and her supporting him even through their hard times and their difficult moments really unlocked things for him. And it's very in line with the things that the Bible tells us, because the Bible clearly says that the man that finds a wife finds a good thing and he finds favor from the Lord. He is favored. He is blessed. Oftentimes after we get married and we increase in that way, our pocketbook, our finances increase. Maybe where we live increase. Maybe the car that we drive increases. Maybe the position that we're in our occupation increases. There is increase that is apparent in our lives just simply from getting married. God blesses the union. I know I definitely experienced that in my marriage with my husband. After we married, there was a level of increase. And then to a certain point when we started having children, each time we had a child, there was some level of readily identifiable increase in our lives. That was God's kind of showing us that he was well pleased with us and he blessed us accordingly. So I can imagine, just based on scripture and seeing it manifest in my life, I can see the manifestation of scripture in his life as well, with his wife and his children, how he began to flourish. So by him choosing her and then her accepting that selection, she saw something amazing in Keith. Those are the characteristics that scream to me, and these are how we should be able to identify whether there's a man behind the smile, there's a man behind the face, there's a man that simply needs an opportunity, there's a man of character that I absolutely can work with as a woman. Personally, I can understand how she would make this choice. Now, I'm not saying that this man is perfect. I'm sure they have their challenges. No one's perfect. I am not. She is not. There is not a single person I've ever met in this world that is perfect. But that is the journey of life. The journey of life is that we're all working on something, towards something, improving something. That is our lot in life. That is our occupation, to constantly be working on ourselves. But I'm saying how you can begin to recognize the quality of a man. Recognize how are you supposed to be choosing. These are ways that you can choose how people show up for their relationship, for their jobs, for their every situation that they find themselves in. What comes out of them, what presents itself. That's how you're able to know the character of a person. And that's how hopefully she was thinking, and she was able to kind of determine that this person was worth her investment and her time. So if he presented all these things to her, sharing with her his journey, his challenges, and she's able to see these things about him, and he's able to see that she is someone of quality who believes in him despite knowing all these things, I think that it was a very good match, because she had to have faith in him and he had to have faith in her, and they had to each see each other's potential. Her potential as a wife and his potential as a husband, a provider, a protector. That's what really stood out to me about this particular testimony of these individuals that I absolutely love. These are the type of things that we should be looking at and looking for to make adequate decisions for whom we should marry, and how do we discern, how do we find marriage material, and how do we identify a wife when we see one. What is it about her that made him recognize she was someone worth investing in? What is it about her? I would love to have that conversation with them and kind of see where their mindset was, kind of see what really attracted each other to each other. And that happened today. That happened this particular generation. That's not years ago, back in the day, something like that. No, that is recent. Recently, they were on the BET Awards and they were invited out there, again, probably because of his TikTok audience. And that's amazing to me. That is mind-boggling. I'm telling y'all, do not sleep on Detroit. Detroit is coming with it, trying to put itself back on the map. Y'all need not be sleeping on these people from Detroit. I'm from Detroit. Thank you very much. Okay. Don't hate. Okay. After they begin to experience financial success, there is still another challenge, another thing to overcome. And once again, when you build with someone and if something wasn't handed to you, you can build again. If you lose it, you can build again. And that's how you know when someone really built something versus when something was handed down to them. He turned down money that was being offered to him from McDonald's because he doesn't eat at McDonald's. And I think that's great because if you start to see some of the, anyways, he stayed true to who he was. And again, that's integrity. Believing what you stand for, staying committed to what you stand for, no matter what's being offered to you, is invaluable. And now people trust what he has to say about different food and different restaurants, and it's an amazing voice to have to resonate with people today. People want authenticity. They want realness. They don't want fake things being fed to them anymore. I think we're already over AI. I know I am. I want real. And it was something that he will also teach his daughters. So his daughters will have this strong sense of integrity, this strong sense of hard work, because we instill in our children what's inside of us. By men and women being people of integrity, being people of persistence, hard work, dedication, we teach that to our children through our actions. We teach that through our conduct, and that makes our next generation a lot more quality. We have a generation that are following us, and they are going to have so much more quality to them than the superficial stuff that they're seeing and they're experiencing and ultimately becoming. I always say that we have a responsibility to our communities. And I just have a lingering question. Would you ladies have entertained Mr. Keith Lee if he approached you and he wanted to marry you and have babies with you, and he had no apartment, he was living in his car, and he had no clear direction? Would that have been you? Would you have allowed yourself to be his door or his key? Now, there is also a saying, struggle love. Oh, I don't want that struggle love. I'm not trying to struggle. Yes, there is struggle. I'm sure that there was struggle for her and for them. There was struggle. But now look at the success. And oftentimes I feel that women out there, they want that success. They want that man to achieve that success without them, so that when they walk into that relationship, they're just living there. They're just, there is no struggle for them. While that's one way of looking at it, I don't really want a man that built everything without me. That just means that he doesn't need me. I'm not critical. I'm not pivotal to his success. I'm not a participant. I'm not contributor to his success. I'm now just a leecher like everyone else. I'm now just someone with my hand out. I'm not someone who helped him build. I don't want to be that kind of wife. I want to be critical. I want to be a part of the growth, a part of the experience, so that when we look at each other, we're just super elated, and we think back on when we had nothing, when we ate the bare minimum because money was so small, when we had this dream and we were dreaming together. That is more beautiful than just simply being there and experiencing it without all of the history behind it. It's completely different. It's a different level of relatability. It's a different level of accomplishment. I think, most of you would not have been that door for him. Most of you would have said, no. What are you? Me? Look at me. Look at you. Look at me. No, thank you. I think that's the majority of you. But Keith Lee's journey is not too different from my own journey with my husband. We met in university and we married out of university. And we decided, crazy as we decided to start a small business. And the rest is history. There were so many highs and lows that we have traveled in this life and in this marriage. But when we walked that red carpet and we experienced that high together, we look at each other with knowing eyes. We look at each other with a knowing heart and a knowing smile. We look at each other with all the inside jokes and all the inside turmoil and all the inside struggles that we had. It is a private moment of success, of rejoicing, when we experience such highs after enduring such lows. So it is something for you ladies to think about. And then you say, oh, but how long? How do you know? How do you know? That's the point. You got to step out on faith. You don't know. You can't know. That's the point. To know without seeing, to believe without seeing is faith. It's like a conversation I had with my sister. We as women, when we make a choice, we are not always right. We go and we're going to do this and that or whatever. We make a plan and we go and pursue it. And maybe things don't turn out the way that we thought. Maybe things don't happen the way that we imagined. Guess what? When those happen, we're okay. We're fine with it. We'll just take the lemon and we'll make lemonade. We'll make the most of it. That's what we do. We scrape and we do whatever it takes, and we make the most of it because we made the decision. We're willing to accept whatever the outcome is. Why can't you allow a man to do the very same thing, to make a decision, to walk with him 100%, full speed ahead, and full confidence and faith, knowing that things could potentially go wrong. Things could potentially not happen the way that he imagined. There could be some unforeseen ditch that you fall into, or some unforeseen event like COVID, or there could be some unknown, unforeseen something, and maybe things don't turn out the way that he imagined. Oh, how do you know when you should quit? How do you know when you should stop? So then you stop. No. You make the most of the situation. You regroup. You try again. You keep going, just as you would if it were you making the decision. Just as you would if you failed in some kind of way on your way. You would cry your tears. You would beat yourself up. Not too long, not too much, just a little bit, not too much. And then you would pick yourself up. You would dry your eyes and you would keep going. Let's be that. Let's do that with our husbands, with our man. Let's give him that undivided 100% faith, dedication, surety, so that if anything goes wrong, if anything should fail, the only thing that won't is you. The only thing that won't fail is your commitment, your dedication to him, to your marriage. These are words I leave for you ladies. It is something that I'm telling you to do that I myself have done, that I have lived successfully for the past 25 years, and I'm approaching 26 now, and it's what we used to do in the past. We can do it again. We do it for ourselves. Let's do it for our families. Let's do it for our children. Let's do it for our man. And kudos to you, Keith Lee and Ronni, for doing it. I applaud you. I love your testimony, and I hope that you keep going and being encouraged, because it definitely inspired me. That's all I have for you today. It's your wife coach, April Lee. I have some exciting material coming up about House of Words and how you can build your life, you build your marriage, build your children, build your outcome, your success with what comes out of your mouth. Look for that, and I'll look for you in the next video. Bye-bye now.